So let's say your company is starting to use SharePoint, or maybe they've been using it for a while. And now all of a sudden, you are in charge of your department's SharePoint site. And it's like, okay, well, what do you do from here? Well, that's what the webinar is going to be about. So what we're looking at right now is what we call a team site. And I'm going to show you how to customize it, how to add some great applications into it, and really make sure you get this set up properly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the webinar window away for a second. But yeah, this is a team site. So, okay, well, what do you do from here? Well, first of all, notice how it has my picture up there. So I'm going to replace that maybe with your company logo, and I'm going to show you how to customize this entire screen. Now, sometimes during the session, I'll make my mouse do that, so you can find my mouse that way. And like the host said, we'll have questions and answers after the presentation. So SharePoint comes with Office 365. That's one way to get it. But basically, this is what we call a team site. And now let's take a little bit of a tour of the screen here. If you follow my mouse over to the right, you'll have what we call the settings wheel. If I pick in the settings wheel, it's where you can get to a lot of the different parts of the of your SharePoint site. We're going to go into site settings in a few minutes. But here you can see I can add a page. Your SharePoint site is going to be a collection of different pages and different apps. And it's a great place for you and your team and your department to share information between yourselves or, with outsiders as well. So the settings wheel is going to be important for us. Now, you see where it says new webinar site. That's the name that I gave it right now for this presentation. But this guy over here is called the top link toolbar. This guy on the side is called the quick launch toolbar. All right, so I'm going to show you how to add things to both of those. Now, when you add a team site, you get this page, and we'll be able to change that page and add things to that as well. So let's start to talk about how you can customize your SharePoint site. Maybe you want your department colors in there or your company logos and things like that. So I'm going to go back to the settings wheel. And we'll pick where it says change the look. And then we'll start to see we're going to have some built-in themes. So, you pick a theme that might be appropriate for you. Now, I usually go with the more conservative ones, but I know some of the newer companies would want to go with a more modern look, but I typically stay with the more conservative one. So let's say I'm going to go with this, the Office template. I just like the way that looks. And then from there, I can pick a color scheme. All right, so notice those different color schemes, but I'm going to stay with the standard one. But I'm just showing you that you can pick different color schemes. As you go through those, then you'll start to see what they look like. But I kind of like that one. Now, where it says site layout, the one that's called Seattle is going to have the quick launch toolbar on the side. And the one that's called Oslo is not going to have the quick launch toolbar. So I prefer to have the quick launch toolbar, so I'm going to go with Seattle. But you can decide that for yourself. And then you can also pick your font set as well. So if you scroll through these, perhaps you find a specific font that you like. But the one that is there is fine. Now, what I'll do is, you see where it says drop an image here? Well, then I can put that'll be like the background on the entire page or the entire site. So I'll pick another change right there. And then I'm going to go to say choose a file. And then I'll go to, let's say, my desktop folder. And on the desktop folder, let's go into the pictures. There it is. And let's say that's our company logo. So I'm going to go with that, and I'll pick on open. Now let's see what that's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And notice how that put that as the background for the entire site. So that still didn't change this picture over here. We're going to get to that in a little while, but the picture that I just added was for the entire site right there. As you can see, it's almost like a watermark or a background there. So I'm going to go ahead and pick where it says try it out. It'll show me what it looks like in general. And then I kind of like the way that looks, so I'm going to say yes and keep it. If I didn't like that, I would say no and go back, but we'll say yes and keep that. That's fine. Good. Now, the way I got there was I picked in the settings wheel and I pick on change the look. So that's probably one of the first things you want to do. Now, the screen that we're on right now is called Site Settings. So if that didn't bring that up for you, here's how you can get to your site settings. Again, I'll pick on the settings wheel up there, and then I'll pick on the word Site Settings. And then this gives you many things that you can change about your site. So this, if you are the site admin for your site, you'll probably spend some time in the site settings. Let's try some more things. So I can change the title of the site and the description. And this picture over here, where I have my picture, that's really called the logo. So let's go ahead and pick where it says title, description, and logo. Good. So let's say for the title, I'm going to say my company site, whatever you would say there. Maybe for a department name or their company name. Now let's go ahead and pick a different picture. So I'm going to go ahead and say choose a logo from the computer. And I'm going to go back and choose a file again. And I'll use that same one that we just used. So I'll pick on that guy and I'll pick on open. And at this point, it's going to upload that file. And I'll pick on OK. Perfect. Now we're getting somewhere. So now we have the logo that I want right there. Now we have the title. And at this point, I'm going to click on OK. Now I can put a description in there, and the description will help with the metadata as far as being able to search that information. But the description is optional, but that's fine. But when you put something in the description fields within SharePoint, it does help with the metadata, and it shows up on search engines and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Okay, excellent. So now see how we have that background. That was under the option of change the look. But if I want the actual logo to appear right there, then I'm in the site settings and I picked on title and description and logo. And by the way, each page will now look exactly like this, or they're going to start off like this. Now I'm going to go back to the home page. And the home page is what people are going to see when they would go up to your site. Now, by the way, let's see how we're going to invite people onto the site. There's many ways, really. On SharePoint, on almost all the pages, you'll have something right there that says share. And that means you can share that page or that application with other people. That's one way to get there. But if I pick on the settings wheel, then I'll pick on site settings again. Now, notice over here, we have users and permissions. So you might want to add some people that can actually change the site along with you, or contribute to the site, or you might just want to have people that can be viewers only. So let's come over here and pick where it says people and groups. Good. So now what this did, it actually inherited it from my main site. So I set up a test site for today's webinar, and it inherited the privileges from the main site. So in this case, I can pick on new and start to add a user in there. Now at this point, you would type in people's email addresses. Now, if you have, if you're using a site at your company, then they probably have it set up that when you start typing in people's names in your company, then those will come up. But at this point, you can type in people's email addresses, and then it'll send them an invitation to look at your site. And then you can tailor make the email with your message. So, for example, let's say I'll add Tom at freepcseminars.com, and then I would add the message there. Hi, please visit my site, whatever you would say there. And then I'll pick on share. And now it's going to send an email to that person. That person would now be able to get into your site, at least as a viewer. I'm going to pick on share there. So that's the way that typically would work for us. In this case, I'm going to close that window. Now we have different types of users. So a visitor is just going to be a person who can view the site without being able to change anything. But they can look at all the pages. They're just a visitor. An owner, on the other hand, can have full access to the site. So, you don't want to make everybody an owner, but they would have full access to the site and be able to change everything about it. A member is somebody who can contribute to the site, maybe add documents and things like that, but they can't change like the settings that we're in right now. So those are your three big classifications. There is more. So we have different types of groups, but basically the members are contributors. They can maybe change documents or add documents. A visitor is read only. And an owner means that they can do basically everything on the site. So maybe you just have a couple owners and a few members and then a lot of visitors. If you come on each one of those different categories or the different groups, you pick on new and you say add users. And that's how you can start to add more people onto your SharePoint site. Or that's one way. The way I got to this window was I picked on the settings wheel, and then I picked on site settings. And then over here, we have users and permissions. So again, this webinar assumes that you have the admin rights for your particular site so that these choices will come up. Now, that's what I wanted to show you about the site settings for right now. Let's go back to our home page. I'll pick on home. So we're going to see that we can change this home page and we'll be able to customize that. And we'll do that in a few minutes. Now, your site is going to come with a few apps over here, and then we'll be able to add a lot more. One of the big apps, of course, is the Documents folder. So I'll pick on the word Documents. Now, at this point, we can add documents to this folder pretty easily. Notice over here, I can do New, and then actually do a new document, and it could be Word or Excel or PowerPoint or any of the others. But usually we would upload documents into there. So I'll pick on Upload. And we're going to upload files. And then you would point to some files on your computer, for example. So I'll go to my download folder, and I should have a folder in here called Class Files. And let me sort this alphabetically. That might help. There it is. Class Files. And then I would just pick these files, as many as I wanted to. And I should be able to upload those into our document folder. So I'll put a few of those. I'll put a Word document in. Those are all Excel, but let's pick on Open there. Now, another thing that you can do is you can drag files into here. So look, I'm going to pick on, I'll pick on the Windows Explorer, and then I'm going to move this window over here. And at this point, I'll pick on a Word document and just drag it right into this window. So notice how that's trying to upload that. Give it a second. And then you can see that one is in there. Let me go back to my Documents folder. And let's go get a PowerPoint presentation. So I'll pick on the word Desktop and see if I have some in the Documents folder. So there's a PowerPoint right there. Okay, good. That'll be fine. So I'll pick up that PowerPoint, and I'm just going to drag that in there as well. So those are ways you can upload the documents into your document folder. Now, when somebody downloads that folder, when somebody views that folder or the file, they're just going to click on it. And now it's going to open up usually in Word Online. But let's say I really want to edit that document. So I'll pick on Edit in Word, and then it's going to open up in actual Microsoft Word on your computer. Now, this is going to be something really important. When I open up this document, so in this case, it wants me to log on. That's not a problem. So usually you would have a Microsoft account to log on to your SharePoint to get to your SharePoint files, but most of you probably already have that. I'm just drawing a blank right now. Okay, I got it. And then I'll type in my password for that. Okay. So now I should be able to get that file. And notice how it's going to open up that document in normal Microsoft Word when that comes up. Now, a lot of you will probably already be logged on, and I should have been logged on before this webinar, but you can see it's let me do that. And now once I'm logged on, I should be logged on for the rest of our session here. So while that's waiting, I'm going to go back to our SharePoint. So my point there was it let me edit that document, but it didn't require me to check out the document. One of SharePoint's big advantages is that people have to check out the document before they can actually work with it. So I'm going to pick on Edit in Word there. And now it should open up Microsoft Word. Okay, so that's fine. But my point here is that it did not require me to check out the document. I could just edit that without a problem, really. Let's try that again. So I'm going to close it at Word, close it at this version of Word. I'm going to go ahead and say Resume Editing. Okay, so I can just change it right even on this on the Word Online, which will be fine. So I can change that. It didn't require me to check out the document. Let me show you how to make your document library so that they have to check it out. This is really important. This is one thing you really want to set up. So I'm going to close it in that Word window, the Word document. And you can see now I'm back in my documents library. So here's what you want to do. You go to the documents library like we are right now. Follow my mouse and you're going to come back to the settings wheel. Now I am using the newest version of SharePoint. So I'll pick on the settings wheel and then you go to the library settings. Okay. So we'll go to the library settings. There's many things you can change on this screen, but the one you want to go to is called versioning settings. So let me go in there. And these are the choices that I'm looking for. Now it says require content approval. So that means the admin would have to approve all the documents. So, you know, if you need to go down to that detail, you can do that, but usually I'll say no there. Now I want to turn on the versioning. So I'll do the major versions, which is like version 1, version 2, 3. Now, if you wanted minor revisions, then you could say 1.1 and 1.2, and that would be this choice over here. But I'll try the major versions for this one. Now it says, how many versions do you want to go back? 500 is a lot. Maybe I just want to keep like 20. You know, that would be plenty. And I'm going to show you how to restore those documents as well. But you have to turn all this stuff on. That's why I showed you these settings here. So let's say we want to keep 20 versions of each document. That'll be fine. Your company might have standards for that. Here's the really important choice. Require documents to be checked out before they can be edited. I'm going to say yes there. When you first make the document library, that's set to no. So typically, I'm going to come into the screen and pick on yes, and I'll click on OK. Let's see what's going to happen now. So the way I got to this window was I picked in the settings wheel. Actually, let's go back to the documents folder again. Then I picked in the settings wheel. Then I picked on library settings. Then that was called versioning settings. And you can see I turned the major versions on. I just need to keep 20 versions of each document. That'll be fine. And then the important choices down here, I want them to be checked out. Let's see what that really means. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my documents folder over here, the documents library, and we see the actual documents. Now, I'm even going to go back to the same one we were just working with. So I'll pick on that Word document. It does open up in Word Online if you have that installed. Most of you probably do. And let's say at this point, I want to edit that document. I'm just going to edit it in the browser. Notice what it says. Before, it just let me edit the document. Now I have to check it out. Only one person can have a document checked out at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back now. I'll click on Opening and Reading View. Here's how we're going to check out that document. I'm going to close out of the Word document. Now, there's a couple ways to do this, but if you follow my mouse, I'm on that document. I'm going to pick on the three dots. Then on this window, I'll pick on More, and then I'm going to check it out. So like I said, only one person can have it checked out at a time. Now, this is very, very subtle. Here's one way to tell who has that document checked out, or that somebody does have the document checked out. Notice for that document, there's a little arrow right over here. If I move my mouse to that, it'll tell me who has it checked out at that time. Now, I'm going to show you a way to make that even more obvious in just a second. But when you see these documents and they have a little arrow next to it like this one does, that means that is checked out. If I move my mouse there, now you can see it's checked out to me. I'm going to go ahead and click on that document again. Now, if I try to edit that document, I'll say Edit. Now I can make changes to it, and it is checked out. I'm just going to make a change here. Video, I'll say also, whatever, right? And then when I'm done with that, now on the online version, it saves automatically. Now I can give it a different name, but on the online version, basically it saves that document automatically. Oh, here is going to be the classic spell checker. So that's there's two spaces there, so I'll just make it so it has one space. So that's built right in, which is great. Notice what it says. It's saved automatically. Okay. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close that window. And now that change will be in that document. The point there is the document had to be checked out before I can edit that, and I turn that feature on. Then it would be really important to check that document back in, because otherwise other people can't get to it. Well, they can get to a read-only version, but they can't make any changes, and that's the whole point of being able to check it out or check it in. So at this point, I'll pick on the three dots, I'll pick on the More option, and I'll pick on Check It Back In. Now, when I check it back in, then it's going to ask for the comments for the version. And I'll say I added a few words up top, whatever your comment would be. Let me show you what's going to happen with that. I'm going to check it back in. So let's say that document becomes corrupt, or it starts to be, it gets ruined in some way. Let me show you how we'll go back to those, to the versions of the documents. This is pretty interesting. Right now, if I clicked on that, we would see the newest version with my changes, as you can see, right? Again, if I picked on Edit, it would maybe check it out first, as you can see. So all that's tying together. But I'm going to close this document. You see it does have the changes in there. But let's say I have to go back to a previous version. This is all stuff that you have to know as you're managing your site. I'm going to go ahead and pick on the three dots again. Then I'll pick on Version History. And then you'll see all the versions. Now, if I have to go back to version, remember how I made the major versions? That's why it says version 1, 2, and so on. Here's the comment that I just added. Well, what if I had to go back to the first one or any of the others? I'm going to move my mouse there. We'll get the pull down, and we would say Restore. That'll make that version the most recent version. Watch. I'm going to pick on Restore. I'm going to pick on OK. It says I have to check it. I still have to check it out for that even. So I'll go back and check it out again. I'll pick on the three dots next to that document. We'll pick on More and then check it out. Then I'll change the version back. So I'll pick on the three dots. We'll pick on Version History. And so now in this case, I'm going to go back to this one and restore it. And that'll make that the most recent version. Good. Now, in this case, I'm going to close that window. And if I go back into the document now it's not going to have the changes anymore, as you can see, because I restored an older copy. So all of this is really, really helpful. That's why those settings were really important for the document library. Let me just show you those one more time. You go to your document library, you come up here and you pick on the settings wheel. You go into library settings, and then you go into versioning settings. Usually I'll turn the major versions on, so it will let me restore those if I needed to. You can use the major and the minor if that was appropriate for you. And then the other important choice in this window is down here, required documents that have to be checked out. You want to make sure you do that with your document libraries. Otherwise, the checkout feature is not there. And, I like the checkout feature because that means only one person can have that document at a time. Or, only one person can change it. Other person can get read-only copies of that document. So let's keep on going with other features here. Now, I want to start showing you how to add things to your quick launch toolbar and also to your top launch toolbar up there as well. So we can add any site into there. So I'm going to go back to the Aurora training site. So I'm on this page, and I want to capture the website address. So I'm just going to highlight the address and copy it. Now, as it turns out, I want to go back a couple to my SharePoint. Good. So you get a website address and you copy it from the address bar up there. Now, I'd like to add that maybe to my my quick launch toolbar. So in this case, I'll pick in the word edit links. Now I'm going to add a link by picking on the plus sign. And I'm going to say main company site. Then I'll go down to the address and I'm going to right click there and pick on paste. See, that's better than me typing that in. I would rather just copy and paste the address in. Otherwise, you have to type that in. Here it says try the link and it looks fine. In this case, I'm going to click on OK. And now that is on my quick launch toolbar. Now, at this point, you can move those up and down just by going there and dragging it up and down. At this point, I just want to save that. And now that link is part of my quick launch toolbar. I'm going to click on that, and that gives people a quick way to get to a different site. Let's try that again with the top launch toolbar. It's going to work the same way. So I'll pick on edit links. Again, I'll pick on a plus sign to add a new link. And we'll say main, okay, so it's already in there. And then I'll just paste it in. And now it's up there as well. So it's fairly easy to add things to your quick launch toolbar or to your top launch toolbar. In this case, I'm going to pick on save. Now, another way to manage those is the following. I'm going to come up here and we'll pick on the settings wheel. And then we'll pick on site settings at this time. And then notice how we can get to the quick launch toolbar and the top link bar over there as well. So if I pick on the quick launch, then we can change the links, or we can change the order on this screen. We can add a new one. Now you see where it says new heading and new navigation link. This is where you can start to group things together. So maybe I want a new heading, and I'm going to call it company info. So in this case, I can type in that same address, which will be fine. Now I can put the other links in it as a sublink. What I'll do is I'll do a new navigation link. And just for example, here I'll type in www.google.com. And then for the description, I'll type in Google. See how I want that heading to be the one I added? And that'll start to put them in a different hierarchy. Let's see what that's going to look like. Exactly. See how we have the main company site, and now underneath of that, I have the Google link. So I can start to group those together in that way. So this screen, we got to this screen through the site settings as well. Change order means I can, move them up or down. So what we did was we picked on the settings wheel. We picked on site settings. And then over here it says the quick launch toolbar, or we also have the top link bar. And that's another way you can get to that one as well. Now I'm going to go back to my home page, and we're on this screen at this time. I'm going to show you more about adding those links in as we go through. So next thing I want to show you is maybe changing this page. So if you have control over your site, then you want to start making your page look in a different way as well. So I'm going to pick on the page tab up there, and then we're going to edit the page. But of course, you have to be an admin to be able to do this. Visitors of your site, of course, would not be able to edit the page. So I'll pick on page and I'll pick on edit. Now, when we add the team site, it adds this item over here. A lot of people don't like that. So I'm actually going to remove that whole section. So I'm going to go ahead and pick on where it says remove this. And we'll click on OK. Good. So now you can kind of make it the way you want it to be. So in this case, I'll type in, I'm going to go ahead and pick on save like it says for a second. And now that section was removed. I'll go back and edit that again. I'll pick on page and I'll pick on edit. So up here, I want some text, and I'll say, welcome to our team site. And now formatting that text will work the same way that you know how to do. So I'm going to highlight the text, and you'll make sure you're on the format text tab. And notice how you have all your familiar icons. So I'm going to make that bold. Maybe I'll make it a different font size. And I'm going to center justify that. So, I would equate this page similar to a Word document or a PowerPoint document in some ways. Maybe here I'd like to have my company logo, even on the page, So I'm going to go to the next line. Notice over here we have the insert menu. Just like in other programs, I can insert a table, picture, video, a link. Let's do a picture. And once again, I'll get that same picture. And there it is. So now I have that as my logo, but it's also on the actual page itself. So we're going to make some more changes to the site in a few minutes, but this will get us started. Now, here's something very, very important. Make sure when you're done with this page that you actually save it. A lot of people will go and make their changes and forget to actually save the page. So I'm going to come over here and I'll pick in the word page. Then I'll pick in the word save. And now our site is starting to come together a little bit. So I have the logo over here. Then I have the actual logo on the page itself as well. Now we're going to see that your SharePoint site can have multiple pages, and we'll start doing that as we go through. So the settings wheel up here is going to be very important for you. Even here, I can edit that page. I can add a new page. Pretty soon we're going to add the app. We went into change the look. All right, we went into site settings. So that's going to be important for you. And then another way to change the actual page will be the page tab up there. And then we can say edit the page from there. You can start to make it look exactly the way you want it to. Now, I'm going to turn off this news feed as well. I'm going to add different applications into our page, but I don't really need that news feed. So I'm going to go ahead and pick on edit again. And you see where it says news feed over here. I'm going to go ahead and click at that little arrow, and I'm going to say delete that it's called an app part from the page. So your page is pretty customizable. Good. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. Make sure you always save your pages. Otherwise, it'll be wasted effort for you. You only have to do that a couple times, and you're like, oh, I better start saving my pages, because otherwise it's a lot of wasted time. All right, good. So the documents are up there. That's fine. Now let's start adding some new applications into our site. So again, I'm going to pick on the settings wheel, and we'll go into site contents this time. There's a couple ways to go where I'm going to go, but I usually go back to the site contents. The site contents is everything that's in your site at this time. Now, to add something new onto here, we'll pick on the word new. We can add a list. There's various lists of information. We can add a new page, a new document library. But I'm going to go over here and pick on the word app. And then you'll see there's many things that we can add. Now, I have the standard edition of SharePoint that comes with Office 365. You might have more apps than this. Maybe your company has some custom apps, or maybe you've purchased some other apps. These are the ones that come with SharePoint. I can add a document library, tasks, and so on. So one thing that I like to add is announcements. Maybe announcements is the big news for your company. So I'll pick on announcements. These are like major things. And I'm just going to call this one company announcements. And I'll click on create. Now, right now, the announcements only appear under the site contents. So I want to make sure that the company announcements are on the quick launch toolbar. And also I want the company announcements to be part of the main page, of the home page. This is what I do all the time. You see, when I just added that app, the only way you can get to it right now is the site contents. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to click on the company announcements app. Now we're going to capture the URL up there. So usually you can just click up there, and then it's going to highlight the entire thing, and I'll pick on copy. Now that makes it very easy for me to add that into your quick launch toolbar. So in this case, I'll pick on the word edit for the quick launch toolbar. Actually, I'm going to pick on the word cancel right there for a second. I'll pick on home. Good. Now I'll pick on edit links. And I'm going to add a new link. I'll call it main company announcements. And I'll pick on address, and I'll paste that right in. So I don't want to type that address in. That's why I always copy it from the URL bar and then paste it right into here. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Now, when you first add an app, it might be under the recent category for a while, but I think that only lasts for about a day or so. I just made that I made that a main link that'll be there on a permanent basis, or until I change that. I'm going to go ahead and pick on save. Good. Now I have a really quick way to get to the main company announcements. I'm going to go ahead and click there. Let's add an announcement in. Now all these apps kind of work the same way. I'm going to add some new information onto that. So I'm going to pick on new. And in this case, I'm going to say something like, France wins World Cup. It was very exciting. Then for the body, of course, you can type in whatever you want into there. Now, if you put an expiration date, then that particular announcement will fall off at that expiration date. Otherwise, it'll be there. So I'll pick on save there. And you can see now we have an announcement. So I showed you a really quick way to add that app in. The way we added that app in was we picked on the settings wheel and we picked on the site contents. And then to add something new, you pick on new, and then I picked on the word app there. When you first add something in, it only puts it into the site contents. Then I was able to click on that application, get the address up there, copied it. Once we did that, I went back to my home page, and then we were able to quickly add that into our links in the quick launch toolbar. Now, maybe that announcements application is something I want on the main page over here as well. Let's do that. So once again, I'm going to pick on the word page, and I'll pick on edit. Now, here's a nice little trick. You click on the next available spot, or you click where you want that to appear. You pick on the insert menu, and then these are kind of specific to SharePoint, an app part or a web part. The app parts or any application that you added into your SharePoint site. The web parts is where I can also get to the app parts, but with the web parts, I can add a lot more. But let's do an app part. And then here's the apps that we've added in there. So I'll pick on company announcements. I'll pick on add. And just like that, the announcements is now part of the main page. Okay. So once you add an application, it's going to be into your site contents, but you can also add it to your main page. You can add it to the quick launch toolbar to make it easy to navigate. Let's try that again. Well, of course, I want to save my page. Remember how I said you want to save that, otherwise it's wasted time. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Now, another great app that people would use would be the team calendar. So now there's many ways to do what I'm doing, but this is kind of the way that I learned, so it's the way I still do it. I'm going to go to the settings wheel. I'll go to site contents. Once again, you pick on the word new, and we're going to add a new app. Notice how one of the apps, if I scroll down on the list, you see a bunch of them, but I like to add a calendar. So this calendar, let's go to, there it is. This calendar would be for the team events, not just for you, but we can integrate with that with Outlook, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So I pick on the calendar, and I'm going to call this one a team calendar. Good. Now remember, when you first add something, it's going to put it into the site contents. So you would go to your site contents either here or through the settings wheel. Then I'll pick on the team calendar app. And you can see it looks like a regular calendar. And it works like a calendar. However, I want to give people an easy way to get to that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the link up top. I'm going to copy that. Now I'll go back to my home page. Let's say this one I want on the top link toolbar. So I'll pick on the word edit links. I'll pick on add a link. And we'll say team calendar. And then I'm just going to paste it right in. Isn't that better than trying to type that information in? I would just rather copy and paste that address right into there. It works much better. They'll be happy with that. And notice how the team calendar is now part of the quick launch toolbar. I'll make sure I pick on save there. Now I'd really like the calendar to be part of the main site as well, or the main page, I mean. So I'll pick on the word page, and I'll pick on edit. Again, we're going to add another app. So I'll click on, like over here on a blank spot. Watch again. We're going to say insert, app part. There's the calendar. And then we'll pick on add. Excellent. Now on my home page, I have the documents, the main documents folder, the team announcements, the calendar. Let's go ahead and save our page. And we're looking pretty good. Excellent. Can you see how SharePoint isn't difficult, at least the task that I'm showing you, but it's not intuitive. Like you wouldn't know to do these things unless you watch something like that. So I hope that it's really helpful for you. Now let's go into our calendar. Let's go into, let's say, today's date. So in this case, notice when I move my mouse there, then the word add comes up. So I'm going to add an event into that. Let's say I'm going to add this webinar. So we'll type in SharePoint webinar. And is your computer. And that really started at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And I can put a category in there like you could in Outlook. But that'll be fine. I can make that a recurring event like we can in Outlook. I'm going to go ahead and pick on save. And now that's on the team calendar. So you would use this calendar for things that the team are involved in. So maybe that's staff meetings, team meetings, webinars, anything that the team would be involved with. Now, let's say I want this calendar to also show up in Outlook. Watch how we can integrate SharePoint with Outlook. This is going to be really great. I'm going to pick on the word team calendar right there, and that'll open up the calendar in a full screen view. Now, at this point, notice how the tabs change up here periodically depending on where you are. So I'll pick another calendar, and you get a lot more choices. Look what it says. I'm going to connect to Outlook. Now, I do have Outlook in this computer. It's going to say Open Outlook 2016, which is fine. It's going to try to attempt to open up my Outlook. Now it's going to say, do I want to connect the SharePoint calendar to Outlook? And I'll say yes. And watch what happened. Here's my calendar on Outlook, and then here's the SharePoint company calendar. Isn't that great? So I can view both of those. So let's say over here, I'm going to add a new event there. So the calendar works just like it would in any calendar in Outlook. I'll click on New Appointment. I'm in Outlook, right? And I'm going to go ahead. It's probably going to ask me to log on here. But my point here is I can change that calendar in Outlook, and it'll also update that in SharePoint. So let me log on there again. I think that's the right ID. So okay, these are those are the reminders. So I'll say dismiss all. All right, so I'm going to say staff meeting. I'm doing this in Outlook, right? I want to pick on Save and Close. It shows up on this calendar. Let's see if it shows up in the SharePoint calendar. So I'm going to go back to SharePoint. Now, in this case, I'm going to refresh this page. I'll do a refresh up here. Let's see if it showed up, and it certainly did. Isn't that great how we can share that calendar with Outlook? Now, another app that you can share with Outlook would be your tasks. So let's say we have team tasks. So again, I'm going to add that app in to my SharePoint site. So I am going to pick on the settings wheel, pick on site contents. Now I see add an app right there, but I just learned that site contents a long time ago, so that's still the way I do it, but I could have added an app right there. But I'll go to site contents. It's just what I'm used to doing. In this case, I'll pick on the word new, app. Another really popular one is the tasks. There's the task right there. And we'll say team tasks. I just want to show you I can integrate this with Outlook as well. Now, remember what I said. When you add an app in, you're going to find it under team, under your site contents. So I'm going to click on that app. We'll get the website address and copy it. Then let's say I want to add that onto my Quick Launch Toolbar. So I'll go back to Home. I'll pick on Edit Links. And you can see how I'm just going to add a link there. And then add the address in. Good. Now they have a quick way to get to that. See, the recent items only last maybe a day or so. I'll pick on Save. Perfect. So notice how I add the apps in. Then I usually add them to the Quick Launch Toolbar or the Top Link Toolbar. And then now I have a quick way to get to the team tasks. That's probably another app that I would add to the main page, actually. So I'll pick on Home. Let's say I want that right about here. All right, so we'll go to Edit the Page. Now I'm going to click on, next available spot over there. And in this case, let's go ahead and insert an app part. I'll pick the tasks, and I'll pick on Add. See where it's going to put that. I put it right where I was hoping to, right over here. So that looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and save the page. So check that out. Now we added the logo over here. Kind of see the logo in the background. I showed you how to do that. We have the site's looking pretty good. Here we added the announcements, the team calendar, the documents, the team tasks. Let's add a task. Let's go into the team tasks. And maybe a task would be, today I had to prepare the PowerPoint. So I'm going to add a new task here. And I'm going to say prepare PowerPoint presentation. Now I want to show you how this is going to also integrate with Outlook. So I'll click on Save there. Now we're on the task list. I'll click on the word list up there. Once again, look what it says. I can even share this with Microsoft Project. I can connect to Outlook, Excel. So SharePoint integrates very well with the other programs, as you can see. Let's go ahead and connect that one to Outlook. I'm going to open Outlook 2016. It says, do I want to make, now it's verifying that I want to do that, and I do. I click on yes. And now notice how I have my tasks in Outlook, but then I have the other tasks, and there it is. I just think it's so great how SharePoint integrates with your other programs that are in Office 365. Now I just went back to the SharePoint site. So hopefully you're getting some ideas. Even in the short time that we had together, well, we have some more topics, but even in the short time that we've been together, I was able to show you how to, change this page and add the apps in. Hope you're getting some good ideas. Now, your SharePoint site is going to have more than just this one page, most likely. So now we're going to add a new page in, and then I'll show you how to tie that all together as well. And then we can start wrapping up. So I'm going to go ahead and pick on the settings wheel. And I'm going to see how it says add a page. Or the other place you can get to that would be the site contents. Let's even go there. Then I'll pick on new. Now, when I first set up this class today, I went back to my main SharePoint site and I added a sub-site. In fact, the site that you probably have is probably a sub-site. Now, you could add more sub-sites below that if you wanted to, but that's how I set up this sub-site for today's session, by the way. But let's add a new page into our SharePoint. And let's say this page is going to be, I just want this to be company pictures. Just as an example, whatever it would be. So I'm going to go ahead and publish that or save and close it. Now, this is something you have to just get familiar with. Everything is going to be under the site contents, okay? That's the only way they can get to it right now. So I just picked on site contents. I picked on site pages. Now I see my home page, and then I have the company pictures. So once I have that, well, you know what I'm going to do from there, other than maybe add it to the top Launch Toolbar so that we have a quick way to get to it. In fact, what I'll do is, over here it says pages. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to add that to the Quick Launch Toolbar, but also make it a sub-page of the Pages tab over there. So I'm going to go ahead and pick on Company Pictures site, capture the web address up here, copy it. I'm going to go back to my home page. So I'll pick on home. Okay, watch. I'm going to edit the links. I'm going to add a new link. And I'm going to say pictures page. Paste it in. Now watch how I'm going to move that. And in fact, I'm going to move it into the Pages tab. So I'm going to pick up Pictures page, drag it. Now, if I move it right onto the word Pages, it should be indented. So there it is. See how it's kind of subtle. I'm going to move to the word Pages, and then it will kind of indent that in there. You have to practice that one. That's exactly where I want that to be. Good. Now, I'd like to even get this address from the home page. I'm going to add a new link. And I'll say home page there and paste that in. And watch again. I'll pick up the home page, drag it into the pages just like that, and see how it causes that hierarchy. Click on Save. Now they have a way to navigate to the other pages. There's my home page, and then there's what I'm calling the pictures page. And maybe on the pictures page, I'll add some pictures, So if I want to change this site, I can pick on edit here. Sometimes the word edit is here. Sometimes it's when we pick the word page up there. So I'll pick on the word edit. Now, this is kind of the new way that they've added. So I'm going to add a new web part in there. And then I can add a picture or anything like that. So I'll add an image. And again, we'll pick a upload. And maybe I'll get, we'll just say we'll add the plane in there. And I'll